Awesome. So, good evening, everybody. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to our little hangout, our little chat that we're about to have here. We have a big occasion coming up, which we'll explain in a minute. And so, my name is Benjamin Turland. I'm a CCO missionary, and I brought this group together, and we just want to be here to really look back. We live in busy lives, and we don't often look back and reminisce on God's anointing and God's blessing that have happened in our life. And so I wanted to bring on and chat with two old friends from university about just God's grace in our lives and kind of many other themes that we're going to discuss throughout this next few 15 minutes. We'll see how long it takes us. We probably could talk for days, but we'll see. So my name, like I said, is Ben Turland. I am a full-time missionary with Catholic Christian Outreach. For those of you that don't know, Catholic Christian Outreach, or as what we like to just call it, CCO, it's a university student movement dedicated to evangelization, where we challenge students to live in the fullness of the Catholic faith with a strong emphasis on becoming leaders in the renewal of the world. And that is an organization I've been a missionary with for about over a decade, and I was involved with even more as a student at UBC, which is one of the main reasons how we all know each other here. And I'm joined with Deacon Marcus, soon to be, the reason why we're here, the soon to be Father Marcus, God willing, on August 15th. And we also have Jason Smith. So we'll start off, I'm just going to ask Jason, how do we all know each other?
How do we all know each other? Well, this goes back a ways. So Ben and I have been friends a long, now that we're old, it's been a long time. It doesn't seem as old, but now we're getting older. So it's been a long time. Since we were, 16, we met when we were, was that grade 7? Was it grade 7?
We met at a friend's birthday party in grade 7. We found out underneath a deck playing hide and seek.
Yep.
But later became close when I became Catholic and you were in the youth group, and I joined the youth group.
Yeah. So we actually had lockers right beside each other in high school.
Yeah.
We spent a year volunteering together with Net Ministries of Canada. He went on to a couple other years, but I did the 1 year. And then we went off to university. He went one way, I went the other way. And then I ended up actually meeting Marcus at university. So that's kind of how we all initially met. So we're all in Ottawa now, actually. We're all going to be at the same parish. Ben, you came, was it the first time at St. Maurice since you've been here this weekend?
The first time that I came while living in Ottawa, but I felt like every time I came to visit, I would be going to St. Maurice's with you guys and stuff like that. But this was the first time
but we were all together in the same church, actually, on the same day, which is really nice. So we're all back in Ottawa, where I spent my year when I was on the Ministries of Canada. So it's really, really nice to come back. And I've been here for a while now. Been in Ottawa for up to 7 years now. Married for 12 years this year, 3 kids, 10, 6, and 3. It's been a blast. It's good to be back in Ottawa and back chatting with these guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was reminiscing, and I was just thinking too, even like your parents, were huge in my faith. I was thinking like how close we are, like your parents and the Paccinis. I was always like, are kind of like my Catholic parents, right?
Yeah.
They'd always be the ones that ask all the questions too. So it's kind of cool how close we've gotten. And Deacon Marcus, how do we all, we talked about this, but we don't actually know where we met.
Yeah, I mean, I remember then, you were involved in CCO, and I was kind of having my conversion during university, and so you were always kind of a friendly face that I would see at cornerstones and summits, and you kind of were very instrumental in encouraging me to journey with the faith as I was exploring it, as I was having my conversion, and inviting me to rise up. And that's ultimately where I had a full conversion.
Yeah. Okay. So that is kind of like the thing, right? That's kind of like what we want to get into tonight, is like this story of, I think for Jason and I, this is the first time this has happened to us where somebody we know before they even entered the seminary is becoming a priest. You know, I've met some seminarians and then they become priests, but this is the first time we know them. We know you as a university student with us. And even before that, right, we were actually at your baptism, right? And we were like, so seeing you get baptized, and now we're going to see you get ordained, right? And even my little dude, Gabriel, who's about 5 months, we haven't been able to get baptized yet because of kind of COVID. Like, we want you to baptize him. So I'm like, I was at your baptism, and now you're going to baptize my kid. And if Jason has another, I'm sure you'll baptize that kid. But, but it's such like a unique thing, and it's beautiful. And I just want to like, I love your story, and I love Jason and like Deacon Marcus, how you guys, your story like fits together and how it played out. So like Deacon Marcus, I guess let's hear your side of the story of how you came to faith.
Yeah, so I became Catholic in 2010. It's now 2020. I've been in seminary for 8 years, but growing up, I had no faith. I came from a wonderful family that raised us well, good morals, good values, but God was never part of the picture. Religion was never part of the picture, and went to public school, and the only image of God or the perspective of religion was really a negative one. You know, with scandals that would come up in the newspaper, or kind of a mocking of faith and religion in like TV shows like The Simpsons or other things. And so I had like a good life, but it was missing a lot. And it wasn't until university that I really realized that. So during university, I was studying forest resource management, University of British Columbia, which is where also Jason was studying, same program. We didn't know each other. We were just classmates. And during the summer, as university students do, we looked for work to try to pay off some of the expenses of school. And somehow we figured out that we were working for the same company, same small town that summer. And we decided to move in together. Again, we didn't really know each other very well, but hey, it's a way to save money. So
Yep.
Once we moved in together, I realized there was a problem of sorts. Jason was Catholic. And not only that, but he was like a good Catholic, like a practicing Catholic. And he was also normal. Like, he wasn't like the Ned Flanders that I saw on The Simpsons. He was like smart. He was knowledgeable. He was good at work. He was a good roommate. In many ways, he was like a brother to me. And it intrigued me because all my conceptions that I had from public school and the news and everything else were called into question. And it really began a 3-year journey of asking the big questions like, does God exist? Do I need to follow Jesus? Can I be some other religious belief or practice? And I knew that Jason couldn't be right and I couldn't be right at the same time, because I was really agnostic, maybe bordering atheism. And so I knew one of us had to be wrong, and kind of those 3 years was really searching for that proof of which one of us was wrong, and it turns out I was.
I like being right.
Follower and everything else, and yes, Jason won.
We all win. I think we all win.
Oh yeah, we all win.
Yeah. But so that was, I guess, the initial part of my conversion, the journey anyways. I didn't have a full conversion until, as I alluded to, until Ben, you kind of really encouraged me and pushed me to go to Rise Up in 2009. But I don't know if we want to go there right away, or if Jason wants to give kind of his perspective on those early
years. I think we hear Jason's perspective, and as you said, we all went to UBC, right? That's where when CCO had expanded, that's how we kind of all got to know each other. God brought us together with those CCO events that you were naming there, Deacon Marcus. And forestry was always like the cool thing to study, and it had the best building on campus, right? It was
yeah.
like I had one class in that building. I remember I had to run across campus, and it took more than 10 minutes to get across to get there, but it was like the best, right? So
I had a Tim Hortons, so
That's true, it did.
So yeah, Jason, let's hear like your side of the story, but then you kind of have I always like to point to it like a claim to fame a little bit with CCO at UBC that people might not know. You were the first ever president of CCO UBC. Without you, there might not have been a CCO at UBC.
I'm sure God would have figured it out some other way, but yes, I was the instrument. I was the instrument he used. Yeah, I got club status for CCO at UBC. It was already at SFU, and they really wanted to expand to UBC, and it's kind of hard to get clubs on UBC just because it's such a big campus, and they don't want to just shell out money to another club for no reason. So me and a couple other people worked hard, and we eventually got club status, which was great. And obviously all of the fruit that has come from that, from having the ability to have CCO at UBC on such a big campus and be able to minister to so many university students is just amazing. So my side of things, it's so funny because it's so funny to hear someone else's conversion side, right? Because it's Marcus's conversion. It's what brought him to the faith and how God worked in his life. And it's so funny to see it from one side and then to hear it from the total other side, just looking at it, because he feels everything, and all I can do is just see what's happening on the outside. And it's really funny because how it happened and how I saw it happen was just so slow and steady wins the race in such a good way, in such an open, honest way that I feel like led to the ability for Marcus to really choose it for himself. So when we lived together, I didn't have a car, and Marcus brought his parents' vehicle, which was really nice. We lived in the same place. We had to drive to work. Work was about a 10-minute drive away. And so when we start work at the same time, finish at pretty much the same time. So we'd drive to go to work together, come home together, and then on the weekends, we would kind of hang out and do stuff together. And then on Sundays, and it was probably actually the first week that we were there, I was going to a mass, and the church was, I don't know, like a 7-minute drive, walkable, not too far. But he'd give me all these other rides. So I said, oh, I was just going to walk, and he offered to drive me. They drive me to church. So I said, okay. And he said, sure. So he drove there, and I think the first week he dropped me off and then drove back. Well, again, not that far, and then picked me up after mass. And then probably was the second or third week, and he did a similar thing. It was so nice. He drove me to church again. This, what I thought was agnostic at the time. That was my best guess. And he was going to drive me to church again, which was good. But you know, he had nothing else to do on a Sunday, and it's not that far of a drive. It's not that, church is not that long. So he decided to kind of hang out in the parking lot. I think it was probably in the parking lot, and then it kind of progressed a little further. And then, well, it's why just sit in the parking lot in my car? It's warm. Why not just go into the church and sit at the back of the church? So a couple times he was sitting at the back of the church after dropping me off, and then eventually he just kind of asked, "Hey, do you mind if I come and sit with you in church?" And I was, yeah, no, come on in, come sit with me in church. I was definitely not expecting it. We had chatted about some things related to the faith, and those topics had come up, but not like just, can I come sit with you in church? And it was just so great that to have the opportunity to be able to share by example, and just be able to be me, to be who I was, and be able to share the faith with someone in an easy, honest, open way, and just letting Marcus come to it on, not just on his own, but obviously with a lot of help from God and a lot of help from me and other people too, in our lives. But it was just so nice to have that nice, smooth, amazing opening. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, but I think too, when you hear this story, there's like so many like nuggets, and I think they just kind of happen out of you, like, but they're there. Like, I don't know if everybody, one, if they would keep going to mass in the summer when they're away, right? But you would go by yourself. You were like, it was something that was so true to you. You're like, I'm going to go to mass. You looked up where the church was. You were still going to go. And then you even asked for a ride, which a lot of people, like, the thought that might come in is like, oh, I don't want to be a burden. Oh, I don't want to be hard on this person. But you're like, I need to go to mass. Can you drive me to mass? And that might be like, well, it's not a big deal, but for some people that would be a big deal, and they would rather walk, or they would be like, well, it's a barrier, I'm not going to go. Right? So even the grace that it seems like what was there, even for you just to be okay with asking him to drive you, go home, and come pick you up again, even though it was like this generous heart of Deacon Marcus's, there was still grace in like every moment, and you still had to be somewhat, whether you realized it or not, you were kind of open to it, right?
Yeah, I never even thought about it like that, to tell you the truth. That's that's amazing.
Like, there's so many things that could stop people, but you kept going, right? So
yeah, and that was all like a witness to me, is that you had this desire to wake up early on Sunday to go to church, and even during the weekdays, I recall you would wake up early to pray before going to work. And like, who is this person? Like, I have a hard time getting up enough as it is. I'm not going to go and sit in a room and, I don't know, just sit there is what I thought you were doing. But you're doing much more than that, of course. But all that time was just building up trust and kind of breaking down the walls and misconceptions that I had, and which led me to ask more questions and eventually go to church. And once I got there, it was the weirdest thing of like Catholic gymnastics of standing and sitting and kneeling. And I remember you were very good with like having a missal to help, like the prayers and things for me to follow along. And I didn't understand anything, but it was yeah, there was something attractive and beautiful about it, and something that I was totally lost in at the same time. And
that's beautiful too, right? The mystery, right? The mystery of the faith. Like, you can not know everything, but you can still be drawn to it, right? Because there's so much depth, and there's so much beauty there. Mm-hmm. So you have this moment, you're in Quesnel, right? This small town in northern BC. Yeah, super tiny, right? Jake's taking you to church. It's a good experience, right? But then now we have to come back from our forestry management bubble in Quesnel, and we have to come back to the big city, got to come back to Vancouver. We got to hit up UBC, and we're coming back, right? So what happens? I think that's where we meet. But what happens when you get back to campus? Because you said your parents aren't Catholic; they're not of the faith.
No.
Your parents are now, which is another story, which we could take like another 2 hours to talk about how your parents are now Catholic, which is crazy awesome.
Yeah, they became Catholic 2 years after I did. But yeah, when I first came back from the summer, I was living with Jason. I was going to church. I was in a small town. And I kind of got to know the church community there. Like, they were very welcoming. I mean, there was this wonderful family, the Swoboda family, and they basically adopted me and Jason while we were there. And, we'd be there almost every weekend at their home for dinner and play sports with the kids. But when I went back to university, I was living with my family, and I was kind of on my own to find church. And a lot of the churches where I was living with my parents, they were like big churches. So you walk in and no one recognizes who you are. At least for me, like, I walked in, no one had a clue who I was. And I remember jumping around from church to church, just looking for some kind of community, some kind of connection, some kind of home. And I didn't find it. I recall even asking about RCIA, because someone told me about, I don't know if it was Jason or someone else, but like, that's a good way to learn about the faith. I didn't really quite get the point of entering into the faith of that, but I'm like, okay, I'll learn more. And I remember asking someone after Mass one day, it's like, I'd like to become Catholic, or I'd like to learn more about the Catholic faith. And they took down my information, and I never got a call back, right? Like, no one called me back. And I was so ticked off. Like, I was disappointed. I was angry. I was like, and so I kind of drifted away from the faith. I'd see Jason at school. I'd see you, Ben, at who I met through Jason, kind of with CCO that was starting up at UBC, but I was still struggling with understanding what this whole Catholic faith was, and it was kind of CCO really helped me along during those couple of years. There was faith studies that I was enrolled in. There was cornerstones that I would go to kind of once a month. There were summits, where they had Eucharistic adoration. I had no idea what was going on there.
You came.
But I came, and it was peaceful, and there was something attractive about it. I didn't believe that Jesus was truly there, but I was drawn to it somehow. And so over these 3 years, I was really just searching and asking question after question. And I think it came to 2009. I was still searching, and Rise Up was coming up. And Ben, you really pushed Rise Up. You're like, you need to go to this conference. It's going to change your life. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to go to this conference. Like, it's in Winnipeg. It's December. Winnipeg is like minus 30 to minus 40 right now. Why would I want to go to Winnipeg? But you convinced me, and you even said, you need to go because I'll help pay for you to get there. And I was taken aback by that. I'm like, he thinks this is that important for me to go, but he would offer to help pay. And I went, and that conference changed my life. Jesus changed my life at Rise Up in Winnipeg. And it really came down to a night of adoration. Came into that night, there's about 600 university students all before the Lord. And I basically gave God an ultimatum. I was tired of his intellectual searching for God. And I said, God, if you're real, you need to show me now. Otherwise, I'm done. I've given you 3 years looking, 3 years asking questions. I thought that was enough. Show me now or I'm done. And instantly I felt this wave of peace, this love kind of go through my body, this fire, and everything changed. Basically my perspective, my values, what I believed, everything just instantly was different. And I can't explain it other than God dramatically intervening in my life in a way that I've never experienced before. And I knew that God loved me, that Jesus died for my sins, and that he has a plan for my life. And as I said, everything changed. The next day, there was missionary tables, and I tried to find out more information about how do I be a missionary, because I encountered the Lord, and I wanted to share that immediately with other people.
Right.
First and foremost, my family, but the whole world. And the missionary tables, they kind of said, well, they asked me some questions and found out I wasn't Catholic yet. And okay, well, let's first start with becoming Catholic, and then we could talk about being a missionary. And
right.
So I went through RCIA and finished that. And then Easter 2010, April 3rd, I was baptized. I was confirmed. I received First Holy Communion at the Easter Vigil. And yeah, Ben, you were there. Jason, you were there, along with many other CCO students and friends, supporters, and my entire family came as well.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. That was good. That was a good time. I really enjoyed that. I get chills when you share your story and that testimony of Rise Up, the annual New Year's Eve conference. It's like you experience it. It's like the woman at the well. I always like that. It's like you experienced it. You're like, I need to tell people. Like, he intervened dramatically. I need to tell somebody, right? And it's beautiful now that you want to be you're becoming a priest, and you're dedicating your whole life to that. And I remember when you told me you wanted to enter the seminary, we were at my grandma's cabin. I think you were up doing forestry. I think you were coming through, back to Vancouver, and you stopped in. And I just remember you being like, I'm not fulfilled, right? In your forestry work, you just weren't fulfilled, and you were feeling this tug, and you're now with the Companions of the Cross. And man, it's so good.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see how it was an easy opening. Jason just lived his life, and he invited you in, and you took it, and he journeyed with you, right? He kind of walked with you slowly. We like to call that accompanied you in it. But then also, CCO had a little bit of its role to play, because it takes so many people, right, to raise a vocation, and gave you that community as you're trying to figure out truth, beauty, goodness. And yeah, it's it's so cool to see grace just play out and how people react to it, and how, yeah, I'm excited for your priesthood and like what you're going to bring, because you have such a firm even conversion moment of like when he intervened, you can like claim it and like you like live out of it.
Mhm. Yeah, no, definitely. And it's following the Lord's always an adventure. When I first started having my conversion, priesthood terrified me. Like that was the last thing I wanted to do. And people would make little comments like, "You should think about priesthood." I'm like, "No, I'm thinking about marriage and kids." And like that's what God wants. That's my vocation. But it's funny how different people come into your life, and the Lord uses different circumstances to really change or reveal the desires that He's placed there that you don't even know. And for those years of after my conversion, serving on Net Ministries of Canada, going back to forestry, being unfulfilled, wanting to serve God but feeling distant when I was working, the Lord used people like you, Ben, and Jason and others to get me to think about vocation more. And it was actually at another Rise Up conference that I had my call to the Companions of the Cross, but that's maybe another story. I don't know. For another.
What year was that? The next
That
year
was
then?
Vancouver, 2011.
2011. Okay.
And
That's
you were
cool.
there too. And yeah, I remember registration day. I saw you were kind of in, your nice CCO suit, kind of welcoming everyone. And I don't know if you were MC that year or not, but you were talking to Father Alan McDonald, who was vocation director of the Companions at the time. And I kind of knew Father Alan, but I didn't know him really. And I just want to come and say hi to you. And so I remember coming up to you and Father Alan and kind of interrupting the conversation, probably rudely, I don't know. And you kind of reintroduced me to Father Alan and as vocation director of the Companions of the Cross. And I remember what happened next. I can't really explain. And I don't know if you've ever said something and as the words are coming out of your mouth, you're kind of like trying to catch them and bring them back in. It was one of those moments. And I remember turning to Father Alan and saying, "Convince me to join the Companions of the Cross." And like, I was shocked at what I was saying. He was shocked at what I was saying.
I didn't know
And he
that.
just kind of like blinked and was like, "I don't have the power to do that. Only God does." And then I kind of walked away kind of in shock still. But that week, the Lord kept drawing me to the Companions of the Cross in a way that they weren't even on my radar type of thing. And so, yeah, the Lord works in mysterious ways. And yeah.
I didn't know that. There's like so many things. I'm like, it's crazy to hear it, right? To reminisce. This is why I wanted to do this, because like it's this big day and it's like there's so many intricate parts. And Jason and I were like, what's going on? It's like the Lord, and it's such an adventure, right? It's like, did we ever think we'd all be in Ottawa when we were all at UBC hanging out on that gorgeous campus overlooking the ocean and the mountains? And now we're in Ottawa, right? It's crazy. And
I think we used to laugh at people who would move out to Ontario and we're like, what's wrong with them? Like, why are they leaving BC?
What are they doing?
yeah,
But now we're all here in Ottawa. And
Yep.
I know Jason and I's wives don't like it when we get together because we just talk about BC like too much. They're like, oh, here they go again. So you can join that, and then
for sure.
maybe they'll go easier on us with the father there. Maybe
Exactly.
it won't be as hard on us. But to wrap it up, this was awesome. But Deacon Marcus, I want you to kind of have the last word, but also, I don't know if you want to explain Companions of the Cross yet, because we actually haven't explained your community yet. But if you want to explain a little bit who the Companions of the Cross are, but then I'll give you the last word, and then we'll sign off for the night.
Okay. Yeah. So just briefly, the Companions of the Cross, we're a religious community, Society of Apostolic Life, of priests and seminarians. So we were founded in 1985 here in Ottawa, Ontario, by Father Bob Bedard. He's since deceased. He deceased just 1 year before I joined the community. So I'm the first seminarian to go through the community that's never met our founder, first one to be ordained. But yeah, now we're spread kind of throughout North America. We have just under 40 priests, 2 bishops, and just under 20 seminarians. And so I've been studying with them since 2012, mainly in Detroit, Michigan at Sacred Heart Major Seminary. And we're priests who are basically all in for the new evangelization. We're Eucharistic, we're Marian, we're open to the Holy Spirit, and we're faithful to the magisterium. So we're totally Catholic, fully Catholic. We serve the Lord in community, and we believe that the fruitfulness of our ministry comes out of the fruitfulness of our brotherhood together. We live in community, we share a life, not just a roof. So that's just a brief background about Companions of the Cross. You can find out more information at companionscross.org. So August 15th, that's coming up pretty quick. I'm going to be ordained to the Catholic priesthood. It's going to be at Notre Dame Basilica in Ottawa, and it will be live streamed. The following day at St. Maurice Parish, also in Ottawa, my first Mass will be celebrated, and that will be live streamed as well. So I think we're going to try to get the links in the notes down below, or the links for this, how to watch if you're interested. And please pray for me. I need prayers. We all need prayers. And the Lord intervened in my life because so many people prayed for me. I think, Jason, you had like this whole prayer group before I even moved in with you of like, pray for this agnostic roommate. And you know, if those prayers didn't happen, would I be here? I don't know. But I guess another challenge is my life changed because someone was willing to witness and testify to their faith. And because of that, I've been able to change many other people's lives. My parents have become Catholic. My grandma has come back to church after 60 years being away from the faith, and many others. And who is the Lord calling you to witness to now? There's someone in your life that the Lord may be calling to mind that he wants you to witness to. Maybe you're already doing it, or maybe he wants you to step out in a new way. And I challenge you to do that. Give God permission to move and use you in a way like maybe he's never done before, and he will move. We just need to give God the give him permission and see what he's doing and get behind it. So I just throw out that challenge. I think that's all I have. There, I'm going to be the associate pastor at St. Maurice Parish in Ottawa. Be happy to share more of my story, to pray with you, and to get to know anyone who wants to come and learn more about the Companions of the Cross. So thank you for your prayers, and know my prayers for all of you who are watching this tonight, or whenever you're watching it.
Thanks for that. And I would like to think too, like the last thing I always think about is like, you never know who's sitting in your classroom, because you guys were classmates and you didn't know each other. And then now look what happened, right? You never know who's around in your life. So thanks guys for the time. And yeah,
No problem.
I'm excited for when this ordination happens. I'm excited to be there.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
Be good. Thank you to everyone who tuned in to listen and watch. We really appreciate it. God bless.
God bless.
God bless.